some of your rivals have gone out and really invested heavily this summer. Are you expecting that the fight for the Premier League title to be even more intense than ever this time around?
I don't know if is that possible. So last year obviously City was. The gap was pretty big. The year before with us, the gap was pretty big. I'm not sure if it can get even more intense for all the rest. So we will see. Yeah, Chelsea obviously is not hiding their ambitions, and Man United isn't. City isn't. We don't want to hide our expectations or ambitions because we want to fight for everything, but. Whatever will happen in the season, we don't know now. But in this moment, it will be a massive fight. And I mentioned only these four, but it will not be only these four. Looks like Leicester made really good business again. Arsenal is trying. Tottenham is obviously trying really hard. And there are so many teams. West Ham played the best season for a long, long time last year. They didn't get worse over the summer. So it will be an interesting league again. Very, very interesting. So let's see how it starts, and then we can talk about that, and then let's make the next step.
Plenty of interest now. No problem, Steve. We'll go Juliet Farrington, then Ian from TalkSport. Juliet, for one.
Hey Jurgen, good to see you again.
Hi.
After the brilliant pre-season that you would have appeared to have had with that month away, just training and working in that your own little bubble that you had, are you as excited, and you talk about playing for the fans with their expectations and dreams, are you as excited as the fans are for this season?
Definitely. We had exactly the same time we were waiting exactly for the same amount of time. So I had 4 weeks pre-season training, which is absolutely great, or 5 weeks, which is absolutely great, and I love that, and it's the best part of the season actually, because you can work on all the things you want to see later in the season, and it was good, but unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that the preseason of Norwich or the other teams was not bad as well. So they will be really good prepared as well. So that's good. So the most important thing is that you are ready for the competition then. And there's a completely different intensity to preseason games, obviously, which we have now again in the Premier League. Everything together, missing a chance in a preseason friendly. It's not a problem. It's always easy to explain. We had a hard session before yesterday and stuff like this. Now we should be rested. I don't expect 100%. I expect the available 100% tomorrow. That means I want us to develop during the season to reach a specific point, our absolute peak, and keep that then going for the full season. But I expect the available 100% for tomorrow, and that's a lot. So, and that's what we have to show. And then we have to be ready for all these pressure situations that you score or they score, and you have to react and all this kind of stuff. And that's something you can talk about in preseason, what we did, but then there's still a difference between the reality and what we were talking about before. So, how do we react in stress situations? That's all interesting, and I'm really excited about that it's starting now again, because we all want to play proper competitive games. Preseason is important, but we all prepare only for the league, and the league starts now, and it's very exciting.
Thank you, Juliet. We'll go to Ian for TalkSport, and then to Carl Woodward from BBC Merseyside.
Hi Jurgen, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Jurgen, were you surprised that clubs like Manchester City spent £100 million on one player this summer? That obviously we saw Manchester United spend over £100 million on a couple of players, and that Chelsea spent nearly £100 million on a striker, considering we've just come through a pandemic? And how important is this to get a good start to the season as well?
February 2020, when the pandemic started, and nobody knew how long it will be, and on. But I was hoping, obviously, that it's over in a month, in 2 months, whatever. Now we are so much smarter, we know so much more about it, and it's still difficult time. So it was for everybody. It was for football clubs as well, obviously for different reasons, and that's probably the reason why you asked me if I'm surprised. No, because these clubs don't depend on this kind of things, I think. It's just not. We all know the situation of Chelsea, and we all know the situation of City, and we all know the situation of PSG, for example. What United is doing, I don't know exactly how they do it, but we have obviously our way to do it, and that's what was always the same. Since I'm in, it was always the same. We can spend, and we are allowed to spend the money we earn. That's what we always did. So this year we spent already before we earned money with Ibu Konate, because after last season it was obviously clear we cannot take any risk in this position at all, and that's it. And that's our situation, and it's not about me being surprised. I'm never surprised about the financial power of Chelsea or City or United. I'm long enough in the country to know that they always find a solution to do these kind of things, and for us, it's our way. So we keep the team together. That's an important part of business as well. I know it's not that as exciting as it is with signing new players for the outside world, but it looks like always the summer is always the same. People think if you don't sign, you don't work. That's not the case. We are constantly thinking about the presence. Or the past not so much the present and the future. So short term and long term. What do we have to do? What can we do? How does how has the team to look this year? How will it look next year, and all this kind of stuff? And that's the situation. So maybe not the most exciting, but if you are a real Liverpool fan, you are really happy about the news the club delivered in the last few weeks. So signing Alisson Becker until I don't know when. The same with Trent Alexander-Arnold, Fabinho. Who else did? Sorry. Oh, Virgil, yeah, obviously only recently. So, and others will follow, so that's great. That's absolutely great news, but it's just not as spectacular out there, obviously, seen as it was. But if other teams wanted to sign these players, they would have to pay a lot of money, and we have them already, so that's good. So now we have a really good squad together. We should be in a better situation than we were last year, so let's try to build on that, what we achieved last year, and let's see where we will end up.
Okay, interesting there from Jurgen Klopp, especially on the contracts extensions that have been done rather than bringing in new players. Leanne, when you look at the business being done by Manchester City and Manchester United as well as Chelsea, do you worry about the fact that it has actually been very quiet at Liverpool?
No, I don't, because I think it's easy to say all these other teams are spending money. But what I respect about Jurgen Klopp is he has a way of doing things, doesn't he? So a lot of people can say, you know, Pep Guardiola, he's a genius. But then at the same time, on the other hand, they say he's not because he spends so much money. I mean, Jurgen Klopp has his way of doing things. When they won the league, they more or less kept the same 11 every single game. And that's why I think they've got so many injuries, because the way that Liverpool train apparently every single day, the intensity is on a different level, and sustaining that for, 2-3 seasons is very difficult to play at that intensity and pace. But if all their players are fit and healthy again, it's almost like Klopp said, he sees it as a celebration that they've re-signed a lot of these players, because he's right. Mo Salah, Mane, people say Mane didn't have a great season last year. He didn't, but I'd still have him at Manchester United. A lot of teams will want these types of players. Obviously, Wijnaldum's gone to PSG. It's one of those things where it's difficult, but I think Klopp thinks he's in a good place, and I think they would give him money. I think John Henry would give him money if he wanted it, but I think Klopp thinks, we're going to be okay. You've got Harvey Elliott coming through, Curtis Jones. There's a lot of young players there, and I think you can see what Liverpool are trying to do. And I think that if they didn't get so many injuries last year, and people can say, a lot of teams had injuries, Leicester had injuries, and other teams, but they had really bad injuries. As soon as Jota signed, he got injured. Van Dijk, Gomez, the list could go on. So it is a bit worrying if they do pick up injuries again, but hopefully they won't. And I think Klopp thinks he's going to be okay, and I think Liverpool will be okay.
Yeah, Naden, we talked about Van Dijk individually earlier on, didn't we? But as Klopp mentioned, he's not the only one to sign a new deal in recent weeks. He nearly forgot about Virgil van Dijk's one, but he did remember Fabinho, Trent, Alexander-Arnold, Alisson as well. Is this Liverpool's way of saying that they've already got the players they need for this team to mount a long-term challenge?
Yeah, I would say so, because most of those players as well, it's not as if they're in their late 20s, early 30s. These are people who can do it for a long period of time. And to listen to Klopp just then, I really enjoyed that, from the way he was talking about pre-season, to talking about the way other teams do things differently, to the way that Liverpool have their philosophy, to the fact that he mentioned how much would it cost you to buy Virgil van Dijk in this instance. I think he understands the game and he understands the landscape within England. And the points that he's made there, I think they're very, very valid. And as he's alluded to, it seems to me like he was right in saying if you're a Liverpool fan, you should be excited by the signings in terms of the re-signing of these players, because these are people who are pivotal to the success of Liverpool Football Club. These are people who are a huge part in why they won their first Premier League title, to why they won the Champions League again and stuff like this, and to why they've been so competitive over the last few years, barring last year. And I think, let's be clear as well, barring last year, for the previous two, they almost accrued 200 points in 2 Premier League seasons, which is absolutely outrageous. So I think I get it. And listening to him, you can see that the club means something to him, and he understands how it works. He understands the nature of it, the mentality. And it's great, those players that they're signing. These are exceptional players. These are key players for Liverpool. These are some of the best players in the Premier League. And even though it's not as exciting as you said there in terms of spending £100 million on a player, I think he's more than comfortable with the people around him at this moment in time, because he believes that they can instill his philosophy and find that level of success again and play football which Liverpool fans will love. And I'm sure that's going to come this season.